Todos los jueves en punto de las 12. No te pierdas tu programa Charlando con la Ley. Un show con temas reales y con los puntos de vista del policía Jairo Rivera. Aprende a cómo protegerte y proteger a los tuyos aquí a través de 318 Latino.
What's up, Shreveport, Louisiana, mi gente hermosa, preciosa, chula, bonita, cositas caídas del cielo que nos escuchan a través de 318 Latino. Thank you, gracias por estar con nosotros el día de hoy. Y bueno, pues como cada jueves tenemos aquí a nuestro amigo el oficial Jairo Javier Rivera, directamente desde las oficinas de Aguacil de Caddo Parish. ¿Cómo estás, Jairo?
Muy gracias por tenerme, Brent. Y gracias a todos radio oyentes allá en 318 Latinos. Gracias
Jairo,
por tenerme.
Jairo, es un placer tenerte. Y el día de hoy vamos a hacer algo nuevo, algo diferente. Today, I think we're going to speak in English.
Okay, cool.
I think it's going to be one of those times that we need to change something just a little bit. I'd say enough of our audience knows English, enough of our audience can participate today. But something interesting happened to me through the entire 318 Latino page yesterday, and that was for the first time we had a video go completely viral. That happened due to something we posted regarding a interview with Nick Daniels, who is an advocate for gun rights here in Shreveport, I believe. And a lot of things happened in between the events from Sunday. You know, Sunday there was a protest here in Shreveport in front of the Caddo courthouse, and that was to remove the Confederate statue that's been sitting there for, man, who knows how long. I think
From the time they built the courthouse.
yeah, built in the 30s, something like that. And there was a small protest, man. There was about 20, 30 people protesting it, trying to just, you know, hold signs, talk about why they want to get rid of the statue, why they feel like it's how to say it, offensive, I guess. And you know, I try to see their point of view of why they think that. You know,
Yes.
If you're looking at something you believe is a symbol of racism, a symbol of oppression, why should it be in front of a courthouse, right? I understand why they're trying to say that. But then came the other side. It was about 30 or 40, maybe 50 bikers came in. A lot of them were strapped. They had guns. They had rifles. Everybody was packing. Absolutely everybody was packing. And there was a lot of tension. A lot of stuff happened there, man.
It's not good. Yeah.
You know, once one group started crossing the street up to the protesters and they started screaming in their face and screaming racial slurs. And here's the thing, I'm going to stop and tell you, I understand also why people from the South and people in the Confederacy believe in the Confederacy, and they see it as a symbol of Southern pride. They see it as a symbol of their heritage. You know, I try to interview both sides and see what was going on either side and figure out why things were happening, because it's all very new to me. So, you know, they were there. They came packing. I asked them why. They said, well, I always pack. I always have my gun on me. I asked them, do you always carry an AK? Do you always carry a rifle? He said, sometimes. Yeah. All right. You know, Louisiana's an open carry state. They have the right to have their gun. I believe the only exception to, as far as the protest was, they could not go inside the court building and they could not go on the grass with a weapon. But that didn't happen. Everybody stayed off the grass, and as far as I know, everybody stayed off the grass and on the sidewalk where it was perfectly legal for them to carry their weapon. But this happened for about 30 minutes, man, and maybe longer, maybe about an hour and a half. And I guess finally they had enough of it, of being screamed at, that, you know, they called some other guys, and the people that came in, I believe, were with a group called Sleep is for the Rich. And they started talking about, pushing back against the people who were protecting the Confederacy or protecting the monument. Eventually, you know, there was no shots fired. There was, once both sides had equal firepower, I guess, things settled down and nobody felt superior to the other side. So it was all, I guess, like a balance of power trying to happen at the time of a protest. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to see that.
Very dangerous situation.
Yeah, and it can definitely be a very dangerous situation when there's two conflicting sides and both of them with heavy firepower.
Or you need one deranged person or angry person or someone that has a different agenda or that has some kind of issue, mental issue or some other issue, personal issues, and start firing, and then all hell breaks loose. I'm sure as a representative of Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, we all respect everybody's the Second Amendment. We stand for the Second Amendment, all rights, all laws, and we protect everyone's laws and rights to freely assemble and protest peacefully, as well as exercise their constitutional rights. Of course, this situation, I'm sure it was a bit more than what, I guess the founders had in mind about, peaceful protesting,
right?
Being armed. Because I told you, it's a situation that could lead to a terrible, terrible ending. You can imagine if one person would have fired, the other, and then the loss of life, the injuries, the property damage, and then the reflection that would have on our city, on our
country,
state, on the South, on our country. It would look like, oh my God, they're just shooting each other. The tensions are high already as it is. Then to bring weapons to a situation like this and make it highly, highly dangerous.
Highly probable.
Yeah, just because you have a right to do something doesn't mean it's wise to exercise your right at all times.
Correct.
And this is one of those situations that I'm glad cooler heads prevailed, but if it continues to this confrontation, I'm afraid that somebody even from without, someone that has not even a local person that has an agenda, say, you know what, I want to start something. Come here with the gun representing whichever side, or even, like I said, there's people that have bad agendas, and they can come from without and says, whether a white extremist or somebody in the other side that Black Lives Matter that has an agenda person, and they come in here and they're not even from around here, not locals, start shooting. Everybody's going to start shooting, and it reflects bad on everybody. It reflects bad on our city, on our government, and so that's what my concern is. That once you bring guns, boy, you can have good intentions,
right?
But now you have one. Once you get fired at, you don't know what the other person will.
Fire.
You're going to return, and so that's where it can be very explosive, and that's why I personally. Boy, I don't condone that, and I'm sure, I can't speak for the sheriff and for the sheriff's office, but I'm sure though they respect and they uphold everybody's rights and constitutional rights, it's a very explosive situation that I don't think anybody wants. I don't think the mayor would like that. I don't think our governor would like that. I don't think any public official looks at this and says, "Hey, this is not a problem." It's potential to be a very, very bad problem.
Definitely.
So, notwithstanding that we uphold everybody's constitutional rights, doesn't mean that you should take it to the extreme, to the utmost. And bring it to the border, like to a point of such tension on either side. Everybody has their own opinion. We at the sheriff's office, we're here to enforce laws. That's all we're here to do. We're here to enforce laws, protect people's safety, protect people's properties. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to stand that way in whatever the courts or our elected officials' laws they write. That's what we're going to enforce. We'll take our lead from our sheriff. We take our lead from our chief and everyone that comes down the line will take their lead. but we don't take sides. We don't
Right.
support one side or the other. We're there to enforce laws and keep the peace. But this, like I said, it's not a good situation. It was a highly explosive situation, and thank God that, you know, like I said, no one took that first step or that crazy step. You know, there are many people that are deranged, Brent.
Yeah,
That even among us, they live in other places, and they say, you know what, this is a perfect situation to incite another riot,
so
or to
that's
make their
something
causes,
Yeah,
their
that's
personal
something we did
causes come
see.
to a front.
That's something we did see happen, man. There was people that weren't from Shreveport that came in here to that particular. Let me direct you to the screen right quick. I want to show you something. This was something that happened during that event, and these were people that were from out of town.
Did you get it? Did you get it? Nigger. Did you get it? Nigger. Put me on Facebook. Come on.
That type of behavior should not be condoned. And they had that happening for well over 3 hours before these other guys came along.
Like I said, we at the sheriff department, let me tell you, the sheriff is very, very strict. We have strict policies about professional behavior,
Right.
professional conduct, how we not only we address each other as professionals, but how we address the public. That, like I said, that's so unseemly. That is just beyond a pale. Really, it's sad that people have that feeling towards other human beings. And like I told you before, Brent, my personal belief is that, and I interject this, that, we're one race, the human race, created by God, and we let something like melanin divide us. Something that is producing some people more than others, and we don't have control of it. It darkens our skin. Like mine right now is getting darker. The more the more sun it hits, it's going to get darker.
Well,
and
see,
so something like that lets us divide us.
Is the fact that I believe that people are naturally, they have this natural behavior of tribalism, regardless if it's either done by socioeconomic status, by geography, or by ethnicity. Man, like. I'm from Mexico. I came here when I was, 9 years old. Before that, all I knew was Mexico. And I knew, not racism, but definitely prejudice in Mexico from Mexicans.
Yeah.
There's people from different states that think of other states as lesser than.
And you can't regulate morality. You can't
Absolutely
create
not.
laws that make people love each other. You can't create laws to make people accept each other, like each other. That's why laws are not intended for that. So we're the sheriff's office. We understand that that it is what it is. We can't make people like even us. They have a preconception about law enforcement, and so it is. Now, we want to change minds. We want to change hearts. We want to be there for the people. We want them to see us, that we're fair, we're not biased, and we're trying to protect and serve. Literally, that's what we're doing for our citizens. And we bring forth our best foot forward, and try to give a good impression of who we are, and who personally, as a Hispanic police officer, I want the people to see that, hey, we're human beings. We're just like you. We love, we cry, we love our families dearly, and even though we have somewhat of a different culture, but we want the same things, and we love this nation. We would die for this nation, 1,000 deaths if we could, and it wouldn't be enough. We have a great gratitude and a debt to this nation, and we choose to be called Americans, even though we withhold our cultures and our language, and we treasure it. Our homeland countries and cultures and languages, we keep that, but yet we still can assimilate and be part of this nation and love this nation, and take it as our own. while still keeping our traditions and customs together. And I think that's the great thing about this country.
Absolutely.
That we can do that,
Yeah.
and not like in our countries. I know it personally in Colombia, and
Yeah.
that you talk about police being biased, and they're racist too. Some are
Right.
amongst their own.
Yeah.
And so it is what it is. You have that everywhere. And I tell you what, even though there might be a portion of the police population or the fire population or fireman population or the doctors or any profession, they may have some bias or some bitterness or some anger.
Let me
In general part, we
redirect
could-
this
yeah.
because today I don't want to talk today about the entire thing that's going on with George Floyd and this
Right.
and that. Man, it's the problem is much bigger than that.
Oh,
The problem with race relations comes farther behind, man. It's like I said, we have it in Mexico, and we
Yeah.
are all the same race.
Yeah.
The problem with this is that tribalism that you are fed from the moment you are born until your moment you are independent. You're fed this tribalistic insinuations that you have to stick with your kind, whatever that may be, and that the rest are out to get you. It's a fear that people are growing with. That's my belief on it, and it comes in very subtle ways. It comes in very subtle ways that over time start getting extremist. Black people raising their kids to say the police are out to get you. Be careful with them. That grows and intensifies later on. White people are always thinking that black people are criminals and they're gonna get you. Latinos are thinking all white people are racist. Everybody has their mentality as to why they think that the other tribes or the other races are out to get them, and they're all they all have some foundation of truth, but they are all very extremist in very different
and can
ways.
you imagine, as law enforcement, we're thrown into this whole melting pot of ideas, of teachings, of thoughts, and we're trying to do the best job in enforcing the laws,
Right.
and keeping peace and protecting people and their property,
Right.
and we're thrown into this, and it's that you can see the complexities of our job, that we have so many hats. We've got to be a counselor. We
Yeah.
have to be a preacher sometimes. Sometimes we got to be a teacher,
Security.
security. Sometimes so many things do we have to be. So many people. Sometimes a parent will call us, "Hey, look, my child is behaving badly. Can you talk to him?" So we'll become a child, juvenile counselor,
Right.
even though we don't have those degrees, but we can, a child seeing this authority, seeing this, it has an impact on them, and they'll listen. So, and we do it. We do it voluntarily. We do it as a service,
Right.
though. That's not our job description, and many times other things that we get called on that is really not has to do with law enforcement, has to do with society.
Very. Look, speaking about society, one of my biggest issues right now is how every single thing that we have to deal with, as far as race relations or governmental stuff or immigration, everything gets narrowed down like this very complex and deep conversations that people need to have with each other. Everything starts getting narrowed down to a hashtag: Black Lives Matter. Defund the police.
And it's
like
more-
everything is just compacted
And
into
the
something.
issues are more complicated than that.
Way more complicated
to
than
put
that.
people in boxes, or identity politics is what a lot of people call it now. Identifying with one group or with the other. Somebody's
Right.
here. No. Identifying with one group or the other. That kind of, but what that does is divide us, and that makes it
Absolutely.
makes our job even harder. Because believe it, Brent, no matter what we are as individuals, police, law enforcement, when we put this uniform on, that's why they said a blue line. We literally are not only for one another, protecting one another, but we're there for the public. And our mentality is, when I go to a scene, I don't say, "Oh, this is a white person's house,"
Right.
or "This is a black person's house," or "This is a Hispanic's house," or "This is an Asian house."
Right.
We go there I'm here to enforce the law, to see where it applies, listen to the interview, and then make a judgment call. And the blinders, as far as race or age or any kind of discrimination, goes out the door. Because I'm in keen trying to, and most often trying to see, okay, where does the law apply here? How can I properly enforce the laws? How can I properly give everybody a sense of justice here, or they feel like justice was served? So, and they may be throwing at me racial things. Oh, that, and we have to comment. Don't use that word, please. Don't. Do, so we have to take all that out.
Let me play something for you right quick while I go handle this right quick, and let me get your reaction as far as how this video or what your feelings are towards this person. This is a guy that came in last Sunday. He's a guy that came in with the group and started pushing back against Confederate people. He was interviewed by KSLA or KTVS 3. I'm sorry, KTVS 3 about the issue, and they sort of just threw him under the bus. They kind of, in my particular point of view, I think they made him out to look like a thug, rather than actually try to listen to what he had to say, right? And there's ways of communication. Maybe his was not the best for everybody, but this. Let me just play this for you real quick.
Sleep is for the rich, not for us. Why do you guys not do that? Why not? Those guys came on Sunday and they tried to intimidate some innocent women, ladies. Unarmed men. They got one of them right there. Just post up right there. People right there. We came out here because those guys came out here trying to intimidate those girls, and they thought that they were gonna have it easy. But one phone call was made, and the whole and everybody came down here on no bullshit. And the reason there's an open carry state, so that's open carry. So that's why we out here. The Confederates. You watch the news, right? What station you with? KTV. Oh, y'all ain't keeping up with that? I bet. So anybody that keeps up with the news, you should know what went on this weekend. You should know. Don't start paying attention whenever we respond to shit and stuff. Alright? Yeah. Don't start paying attention whenever we start responding. Hey, big dog, hold on. Don't start paying attention whenever we start responding to stuff. The time to pay attention is not when the oppressed people decide to respond.
Now, let me stop it right there, and let's go back to our conversation. He hit on a couple points right there. And one of them was obviously the bias of the news. Now, I've seen KTVS and other news hit not just their side wrongly, but multiple sides. That same Sunday that the Confederate stuff happened, there was a pro-police, pro-veterans. It wasn't a protest, obviously. It was more of a type of celebration that was going on the other side of town, where a group called, I believe it's 22 Row, was there with SPV. And this group was, just trying to bring awareness. 22 is the amount of veterans that die every day from suicide. Wow. It's an average amount of veterans that kill themselves day on and day off because of the trauma that they've had to deal with in their life. And there was a spin put on that note talking about these are counter Black Lives Matter protesters. No, that particular group had nothing to do with anti-Black Lives Matter. It was just pro-police, but because it was pro-police and pro-veterans and bringing awareness that you guys have to deal with a lot of shit. A lot of it. Like, one of the things you and I were talking about in an episode in Spanish was that you guys have to deal with the worst of the worst. We're not talking about any race, man. Like, you guys go to a house, murder. You guys go to another house, suicide. Another house, somebody dealing drugs. Somebody got raped. Somebody got stabbed. Fights. You guys go to respond to calls for all the worst things that humans have to offer, and that puts a toll on you guys. So you cannot tell me that mentally anybody's 100% prepared for that type of job, for that type of stuff.
No, and I guess we all find ways to deal, to cope, to be able to have it not affect us as possible. Some go to church, some do exercise, some have other forms of release, have good partners, good friends that they can share and open up. The sheriff department offers counseling.
Right.
So if you need to speak to somebody, excuse me, so over a traumatic experience, there's resources available also through our health care. Now, we go through all these situations, and that's what I'm here to try to enlighten our Hispanic public, give them a perspective of what we go through. We deal with all this type of people. We deal with people that are going through having a good day, having a bad day, most having a bad day, or whatever circumstance they're going through at that moment. It's not a good situation. Otherwise, they wouldn't call us.
Right.
Normally, they don't call us to say, "Hey, we're having a great day. We want to invite you.
Come join the
here's
party."
Some food. Here's some, But there are occasions that people do when they say, "Hey, would you like to have some?" They do allow. Not only just bring the bad side of society, but sometimes they do show us some kind of gratitude and for our service and all the time we get that, and a thank you for your service. That means a lot. So what the sheriff has me here to bring to the Hispanic people is to let them know that, hey, look, we're here to help you. We're not perfect. No one is perfect, but we're here to extend a hand. And then I'm also here to say, hey, to let you understand what we go through. Sometimes, just like human, we're having not such a good day, and we sometimes have to swallow all that and still bring a professional face, bring a professional attitude.
Right.
And so, people have to understand that, sometimes we're not all happy and glowy and there's a smile and everything is great. Hey, it's a tough job, and we're trying to do it professionally. So we have most days people look at us it gives us a look that they could kill us, or they have hatred.
Right.
So you already get that every day, and then you get some people that, hey, thank you for this. So you get that. So you're almost on a defensive mode. That we are like reactionary. We wait till people say hi, then we say hello too. Or if they're doing good, they say, hey, how you doing? Then we say good. But sometimes they'll give you a look like, hey, why don't even look at me? Don't even talk to me. And so we don't. We try to, but we're always in that balance. So we're always going through that. And then we have situations like this that doesn't make it easier for us.
Right.
Right now, the tensions are so high, Brent. We go to a situation, and it's high. When you do a traffic stop, and it's a minority or someone right away, there's the little tensions there. Most people now they're recording.
Yeah, they're already recording.
They're already recording. As soon as you stop them, they're recording and they're listening, and they want you to see that they're recording.
Yeah.
Like if you have some intention to do wrong, and sometimes they say, "Oh, look, I got you recording." I said, "That's fine.
Me too.
I'm recording as well. Not only for your protection, for mine as well." So that's good. Record. All you record, all you want. That's perfect. Now sometimes they have somebody on the phone. Hey, I'm doing this. Are you listening? Like a form of intimidation. I said, sir, it doesn't matter who you're talking to. Right now, let me address you with this issue I got here, and you can finish talking to them all you want. You can keep them online there. It doesn't matter. What we're saying, I'm recording also. So, but you see these tensions.
Yeah,
it's tensions going on. And so as a Hispanic people, they can help us a great deal, Brent, by when we stop them, have information ready for us. Remember, someone who can translate, or knowing that we're going through, be respectful. And if you can't understand the language, say, say whatever. I don't speak English, something, and we'll get somebody out there to help, to translate, to work through the situation. But bear in mind that it's a high stress situation. Somebody called me yesterday in Bossier. This happened in Bossier, that they got a ticket, and the officer, wanted to take him to jail. her husband. She was telling me, and I said to her, I said, "Hey, look, he could have taken her to jail.
Right.
He didn't, but it was his decision. But he legally could have done it. You know, the offense that your husband did is arrestable.
Okay.
So, you know, that he didn't, great, but he could have. And she was trying to find some. Hey, you think he did right? I said, hey, look, the guy did right. He was he was doing his job, and that he decided not to do it and just to let you go to court on it.
Right.
That's fine, but he could have. And then she started thinking, coming from me, then she realized, okay, the guy wasn't doing something wrong, and in fact, he did us a favor, not taking my husband into jail.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, and she I can imagine what he said. Oh, it was an American cop, and you know they have bias towards us because I'm Hispanic. And I told her, no, he actually could have done that.
Yeah.
He chose not to do it, and man, thank God he didn't for your sake. But don't, you know, but it could happen if your husband is in the same situation again. Another one could arrest him, and they'd be perfectly within the rights.
Instead of giving them a ticket.
Instead of giving them a ticket, I said they could have done it.
Court.
So, you know, and I want our people to know that, the Hispanic people to know that no one's out trying to get them.
Right.
If you break the law, there's consequences. And we do have some discretion. We can make some decisions. Some are completely out of our hands.
Absolutely.
But some we do have discretion to make a decision, and we'll try, depending on the situation. There might be kids in the car. You know, hey, if I take this mother to jail, what am I going to do with these kids? So sometimes discretion is like, hey, and they'll call a sergeant, hey, sergeant, this is a situation I have. The woman, you know, she has a warrant, let's say for a ticket or whatever. And this happened to me before. I'm telling you one situation, a jaywalking ticket. From Shreveport. A jaywalking ticket, a mother, they had kids in the car. I was a rookie back then. Called my sergeant, hey, Sarge, you know, we're supposed to take it to jail for this jaywalking ticket, but there's a couple of kids here. And my sergeant, you know, was a wise sergeant, older sergeant. He said, nah, let her go, tell her to go pay that ticket off. I said, ma'am, look, go pay that ticket off. This how much it's worth.
Yeah. Take care of it.
We chose to do this, but another deputy or another officer from where may choose to do different now.
And that's one thing, man, is that people see the law, and a lot of people want to follow it, you know, strictly. And it's on you guys is how to put this. You can take certain things into consideration as to whether the highness or how do I put
the severity of
the severity of the
offense,
crime of the offense.
And it's true. And some, Brent, are completely out of our hands.
Yeah.
Some we got to make arrangements for the children because this is a serious offense.
You
and
have
we
to do it.
And it is beyond our decision making. It's gone up to another level.
Like one of those would be when domestic violence, you know,
exactly.
get called
Because
in.
the
law says you have to take them in.
Well, in the independent, let's say it's strangulation. Let's say, just for the hypothetical, that he strangled her, right? And she lost some consciousness, but not altogether. And they have a couple of kids in the house, you know. And even though she's begging me, oh no, he's a good husband. He provides for us and this. He
just choked you.
And if we in years past, many years past, we could have said, all right, ma'am, look, okay, you know, we'll separate, whatever. But if the man comes back and kills her, you know, there might be some liabilities that we have to answer to personally and as a department. We can't take that.
Domestic violence always escalates.
It always escalates, and studies have shown that it normally escalates to a greater degree. So it never de-escalates.
Right.
It always escalates.
So we got some comments coming in from people. Brandon Hill, he corrected me. It's Rogue 22. That was the group that was pro police, Bossier City Police. Okay, that's what it was. Bossier City Police. Anton Rod, he says, I'm a veteran who served when I was 17 years old. It's overwhelming when you have a license to kill and you have access to weapons. My head was swollen. I say this to say that person has to be mentally sane and responsible and not have an ego. Believe you me, people of power are careless. I mean, I can understand that.
It's like I said before, it was a very, very dangerous situation. Brent, listen, most weapons, and some adjusted and stuff, but it's basically 3 pounds or even very little pressure. And once that is set off, once that bullet is going out that chamber or that barrel, it's a wrap. It's done. There's no bringing it back. That's going to do some damage. It's going to go through things.
It's a chain reaction. One person
and
shoots,
then another one,
shoots.
and then it's you see how volatile. That's a oh my God, what a situation that was. And the thing is, remember, Brent, that we always deal with there are people that have mental issues or have agendas that are warped.
Right.
It is like that. And no matter how many laws the representatives and the legislators come up with, they're never gonna change a heart.
Right.
Or an intention of a heart, intention of people that they have, or the evils and the hatred. So some people have these bad intentions, and people say, "Well, let's take all the guns away from the street." No, but then there's a purpose for those weapons.
Right.
The Second Amendment, it was for a reason. Our founding fathers had it for a very important and very special reason. And as you can see, every country in the world that had the dictator wanted to take over the country, the first law or the first argument that he brought up is, hey, let's make this street safe. Let's take the guns away from the people. It'll be safer. You don't have to worry about only law enforcement will have weapons, so you'll be safer. And once he confiscated all the weapons from the citizens, then he implemented whatever laws, and they couldn't fight back.
Right.
So history has shown us again and again.
Taking guns away.
Yeah, Hitler did the same thing. Chavez,
Stalin.
All of them done the same thing. They play the same game, which is, hey, look, these weapons are dangerous. And when you hear people talking like that, you got to be careful. Our Second Amendments, the forefathers thought about this, and they were wise to think about it. And if you think about it, sure, weapons kill, and it's dangerous, and you have to train, and you have to make sure you handle them properly. But there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. And I'm for totally. Jairo Rivera is totally for the Second Amendment. It's a beautiful thing. As I study about it, I'm so grateful for our founding fathers to implement that. And the wisdom they use, because sure, weapons kill, but you know what? Knives kills too.
Yeah.
And many other weapons that kill.
Oh man, I've seen people go to gun with
pencils
a hammer,
can kill. A hammer,
crossbows.
Exactly right. A bow and arrow. But it's behind the person.
It's the intention.
And then our founding fathers was, hey, we not only have this, not only to protect ourselves and our property from others, and even our own government if need be. God forbid it ever happens.
So
but tyranny sometimes happens.
Yeah, let me hit on this video one more time, because this gentleman, Nick Daniels, I believe his name is, he hit on that particular point, is that these are for protection.
They respond to crime, little daddy. By the time the cops get there, you already been messed over. You done already caught your issue, right? So you need to find a way where you can protect yourself and your family before the cops get there.
Yeah, that's
right then and there. By the time
Pulling it out was not wise.
Explaining to them why you got a few dead men on your front property. That's why we out here, because we ain't taking no intimidation and no bullying no more.
Things like that can be considered assault. That's why they don't realize an intimidation type of thing like that. It can be considered an assault. People think like, well, when you take it out, when you have it exposed and what you're there for, it can be taken that way. That's why put yourself in that situation.
Right.
You know, it was not smart. He says some truths there about our Constitution and about our right to carry.
But the way he went about it.
Yeah, and it's open carry state. But it's never wise. It's never wise to
pull
have
out
your
your
weapons
gun.
out. First of all, it's not wise to have your weapons exposed, because if someone has bad intention to do something, the first person he wants to take out is the one that has the weapon exposed. Because he said, hey, that's the one that's most dangerous or most dangerous to me.
Right.
And so that's not wise. And if you have a concealed carry, then fine, concealed carry, and as long as it's within our laws and everything, we're totally behind that. There's some places you can't carry it because it's a private property or federal buildings and so on and so forth. Then abide by that. You can't carry it in the base. Leave it in your car or leave it at home if you know you're going there. Because even though your car is an extension of your home, there's situations that can hang you up in there, especially on the base. Yeah. So my advice: leave it at home. As simple as that. So these are situations. Yes, we do have these rights, but don't abuse these rights. Don't,
Right.
and I'm not saying he did. We're not taking any sides on either side here. We're just saying bringing weapons to a protest is not a wise thing. It's very dangerous because you have the temptation. Somebody may say something to offend you,
Right.
and you go ballistic. And everybody has a different tolerance level.
Absolutely.
This person blows. Oh my God! He called me the N-word. You know what? That's it. I don't care about anything. That person, and then that starts a massacre. And we don't want that. And so what we're saying, what I'm saying, and I believe as a deputy saying, please, that's not the wise thing to do. Yes, you have the right, but do you have to exercise the right in that manner? Because that's a threatening matter. Then if someone else says, you know what, okay, fine, then I'm going to bring my gun. And the other one says, okay, well then, and all it does is escalate situations. We have learned from history
Right.
that escalation just builds escalation to finally sometimes an explosion, and there's like a battle or war that ensues. So, better heads prevail. Use your rights as protests. But hey, look, a protest is not the place to bring this. So think about it. Leave them at home. Bring your protest, and if you feel that it's a vital situation that you think it's ready to blow, call law enforcement. Let us go in there, and we'll maintain the peace, and the order.
Well, I will say this, and I'll give this to their credit, was the fact that man, sometimes law enforcement is told not to act, man, because
Well,
what was happening there. I was there. I was present, and I can tell you, man, that people were screaming in each other's faces, and SPD was not doing much to stop it.
I can't speak for SPD. I can't speak, whatever. I know that it's one of the. I can't even comment on it, to be honest with you, Brent, because I don't know the situations, what they were told or not told.
Right.
All I know is, as a law enforcement officer, there might be information coming in beyond my pay grade.
Gotcha.
That I don't know, that they may receive even from the federal government intel or whatever, and they say, hey, this is how I want you to treat this situation, and so we have to do whatever we're told.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Now,
the
I will say
explanation
this: once somebody put hands on somebody else, that's when they acted. But it had to get to that point.
and you see, and I don't know what their ROE was, the rules of engagement.
Right.
And I know as a military man, we have, before we go to every situation has a different rule of engagement. And in the military, we train for every rule of engagement, and we go over the rule of engagement. And every instance, we're going to a place. Okay, this is the rule of engagement at this situation. You're only fired when you're fired upon.
Right.
When you can identify your enemy properly. There's many levels of rules of engagement, or many criteria. And so here in law enforcement, we don't have a whole bunch of criteria. This is a situation, this is what you got to do. All we know is that we have to, our superiors may give us a certain order, and we just follow the order. And that's it. And then our training kicks in. And so, because, citizen law enforcement is different than military law enforcement.
Right.
So, what our training kicks in, and we're, like I said, again, trained to be professional, trained to be patient, trained to diffuse the situation with verbal judo. That's our main weaponry, that we try to disarm everything through our verbal communication. And then that's the first step. Presence, verbal communications, and hopefully that will quail things. And if we're smart enough and we're, I guess, have wits about us, we're able to, bring some stability and some calm into the situation without further escalating it. But bringing weapons, Lord, it's not a smart thing, Brent.
I want to touch on another point that you were talking about earlier, how, once people start, getting pulled over, they immediately have their camera out. And of course, you guys have your corporal camera, on you.
Body cam.
Can you let us know, what are the rules on that being on?
That's fine. Oh, no,
the camera being on, yeah.
Anytime we have contact with somebody, it's supposed to be on.
Okay.
Of course, there's contact sometimes that we don't expect. We're in a line to get food.
Right.
Somebody, hey officer, listen, can you tell me how to get this? You know, I don't have to scramble. Hey, hold on, let me turn it on before I answer you. You know, we're hoping we say, hey, okay, take Highway 1 and take, or somebody asks, hey sir, my car is broke down. Can you help us? You know, there's just certain situations they don't expect this. Hold on, let me turn this on before I even talk to you. That we don't feel, but by policy, anytime by policy that we come in contact with somebody, we're supposed to turn this on, and we can turn it on from here. It's just certain situations, you know, they'll ask us a question that has nothing to do with law enforcement, that has nothing to do with it. Hey sir, can you tell me, you know, get directions? Or hey sir, what do I need to do to get this? And I don't have, you know, I shouldn't have to turn the camera for that, but the policy says I do. Because for any instance, they may say, you know what? Oh, he answered me rudely and I want to file a complaint. And you know what? They'll have a legitimate complaint because I didn't turn it on. They'll say, why didn't you turn it on? I said, well, they were asking me directions. Well, they said you answered directions. You gave them directions, but you said it rudely. Oh, my God. And there's people like
Cry
that.
me a river.
There's people like that. So you know what? By policy, we're supposed to turn it on for everything, even if we're online waiting for food and somebody comes to us and asks us something that is totally law enforcement related, we're supposed to turn it on. I'm going to be honest, in certain circumstances, I haven't turned it on for every instance that I've come in contact with somebody. Just today, when I was getting my lunch, somebody paid for my lunch that was behind me. I turned around. I didn't say, hold on, let me record this. Let me record it. Hey, I want to thank you. God bless you. Thank you for paying for my food. You know, that's what I mean. But by policy, we're supposed to turn it on.
See, somebody had talked to me. It was Robert Bilderback. Robert Bilderback, the guy that helped me record this video that we posted. He is a law student, and he's trying to, you know, come up with ways that we can help or make it easier for law enforcement and of course for accountability on both sides, right? And cameras is one of the biggest one. He had the question, what if cameras, if storage wasn't an issue, what if cameras were on the entire time?
Privacy issues. Brent, believe it or not, sometimes I have to use the bathroom.
No way.
Yes, it's true. And imagine if I had to always have this on and I have to use the bathroom. I have a funny story that I'm not going to tell, but I'm telling you that it is one of those situations that is privacy, certain privacy. My wife calls me and tells me, hey, you know, I just miscarried. That's a private issue.
Right.
It shouldn't have to be recorded. It's my personal life. And I do get calls that are personal. Hey, the lady just called me. Hey, I know what she was calling me about. She wants to sell me tamales.
Right.
You know, it's a private. Whether I buy tamales for this lady that she's not employed, not working. Because remember, the Hispanic people that are undocumented, they're not working right now, Brent.
Right.
They don't get unemployment checks. They don't get stimulus checks.
Right.
They are hungry. They're very going. So this is one of those families. So I say to her, yeah, I'll buy you some tamales. Now it's a private issue. So I say, hey, how you doing? Listen, yeah, I'll buy tamales from you. Yes, drop them off and I'll have my wife pay you. That's a personal matter.
Right.
Now that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of personal matters that we deal with on a daily basis that has nothing to do with the law. That it is. We do have privacy, even though we're working right now. There are times that we have conversations that are not for the public. Me and an employee, we have an issue. Employees have issues.
Right.
Hey, listen, man, I want to address you. You disrespected me. Hey, man, I don't like the way you kind of looked at me sideways here.
Right.
Oh man, that shouldn't be on the record. That's not for the public to know. That's completely out the realm of them of a public domain.
Right.
It's certain things that my sergeant wants to chew my butt because I did something wrong, because I left my car running, which some supervisors don't want you to have the car running while you're doing something, you know. And it's worse, it's wasting the citizens' gas, and then it's the cars getting hot, especially in these temperatures, and he wants the vehicles off. And I forgot, he's chewing my butt.
Right.
that shouldn't be in the public's ear or sight of getting me chewed out because I left the car running, which is, it's not a break in the law, but it's breaking his policy on what he wants done. And so these are things that, you see what I'm saying? There are many of those situations. Or joke. Guy wants to tell me a joke. A personal joke to me.
I remember the one you said about Bambi.
Yeah. And that's not, it's not vulgar. It's not
it was just
sexual harassment. But like I said,
somebody would take it the wrong way.
That somebody will take it. An animal advocate will think that, oh my God, they shoot deers or they shoot horses that got hurt. Sometimes we have to do something like that, and it's true.
Right.
And it's horrible. And so, and in an offside little joke, I'll say something about the deer that I had to shoot, and somebody can get very offended by that. It doesn't belong in the public ears. It doesn't belong. And somebody say, "Oh my God, they killed. Why couldn't they call an animal vet?" We just can't.
So you mentioned earlier. Let me move away a little bit from the camera issue, because I understand privacy, man. Yeah. I think people should as well. Let's move a little bit away from that. You mentioned something about wasting tax dollars, like leaving the car running, little things like that, right? That brings me to another one of those gigantic issues that got condensed to a hashtag, which is the whole defund the police stuff, right? To my understanding, when this idea first came about, was not necessarily defund the police, just stop paying officers, stop taking money in, but it was more of an idea of finding things that police officers or police departments in general are, maybe wasting money on, taxpayer money on. And, I can understand a few things, like there are some departments that have gigantic, military buses that they don't really use.
They have, every department have accountants, and they're accountable. They're accountable. So it's not like anything the sheriff, go on a spending spree and nothing like that. They're accountable. They're accountants, and there's accountability. So, in fact, not too long ago, there was about people that have the company cards. I mean, that is monitored. It had checks and balances for that. I'm talking about. Look, when I went on a training, I had to bring receipts
of everything.
I mean, to the detail. They don't play around. And if you don't have proof, you're not getting that money back. I mean, and I could say, well, but I ate. It doesn't matter. We want receipts. They when it comes to the money or the people's money, I can say this sheriff it goes beyond what most law enforcement that I've heard, because what I'm talking about, look, to give us a raise that we haven't had in a long, we have those increases, the cost of living.
I will give that
but I'm talking about
his slogan.
Hey,
fight with your money,
dude, and he truly is. He is true, because that would require a tax, a raising the tax to our citizens. And you know what? He knows the struggle that people are going through, and he knows what people are suffering through. The last thing people need is a raise in their taxes. Right. So, look, hey, we're going to have to suck it up, make do with what we got, be more efficient, but and same, we have to tighten our belt at every homes. We all have to do what we need to do to make ends meet, because we know that everybody's going through it right now.
What would you say to the people that are arguing that police are buying military-grade weapons for regular use?
I don't know anything. To be honest, brother, that is above my pay grade. If that's happening, to be honest, I haven't heard it or seen it. So I can't even speak on it, because that I don't know what they're talking about. To be honest with you, it really is to me a foreign language.
I'll do more research on
it.
And
because
I'll present it to you. So you can
now I don't know if other departments are buying, like Humvees or stuff that armor protecting,
vehicles.
Armored vehicles that the military doesn't have use for them, and they have to modify. I can see that happening, but if I'm buying cannons and buying, I don't look. I've never heard of it, never seen it, don't even know about it, to be honest with you. So it would be foolish of me to even comment on it, because it just being in the military, I've shot a 50 cal, and I've seen the damage that it does. I'm like,
we don't need.
But I never even seen or heard any department ever to even or even what would they have a need for a 50 cal? That goes through walls, infinite. And it'll break down this building, bring it down. 50. That's what I'm saying. I never heard of it, never seen it, don't even know about it. That's why I can't even comprehend that at all.
I honestly believe it's an over exaggeration of people as far as them buying.
It could be vehicles
probably semi-automatic rifles that they think they call it
off-road vehicles and stuff like that are practical, that can be used in practicality with us. But as far as weapon grade, military weapon grade, what does that even mean? Because you have to be specific. What do you mean by weapon grade? Because military uses Beretta 9mm. Yeah, a lot of forces use 9mm. Can we use a Beretta 9mm? Yeah, because it's the same caliber that most departments use. Can we use AR rifles that the military uses? Yeah, because we use them now too. Same caliber, 223, it might be a similar caliber.
Right.
But apart from that, I don't know of any. I don't know any department that uses saws. Or a 50 cal, or even a cannon or bazooka. I never even heard of. That's what I'm saying. When they say military grade, you got to be okay. What weapons military grade? Because the military, when departments that are not fluent, the money wise, they give them these ARs that they don't use anymore. The rifles to departments. The military actually gives them to them.
Right.
And so they're using everything, but it's the same caliber that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes, military grade, but the grade is the same that we're using out here. It's not like another level that we don't use civilians. So that's kind of got to be careful when they say that, because yes, military grade, but it's the same grade 9mm handgun that we use, or the 223s that we use. So they're not going to give us a caliber that we don't use.
Right.
So that's why you got to be careful with military grade weapons. What does that actually
calling
mean?
It military?
Right. It is military, per se, but it's the same grade we're using. It's not like a special weapon, laser, something that blows up things. No, it's the same thing.
Final question I want to ask you would be about concealed carry. I know you're a big advocate for people having their own guns. Are there any programs in Shreveport where people can get their concealed carry?
I've heard. And I can get more information on that. I know.
We'd really appreciate that.
Yes, I know that my superiors do have more information on that, and they can. But normally, I know they defer. They have trainings all over. They can look it up.
Right.
There's trainings all over the city, and there's like you have to get thumbprint and this and a background check. Now the courthouse can't do that. For you to get that, but there are different programs, and that I know of. I personally don't know of any to say, "Hey, look at that one, go to that one." But that they are, yes, and they're legal and they're worthwhile. You have to go to those classes. You have to get background check. You have to go to fingerprint. And they'll tell you exactly what you need to do, what you need to go, and it's worthwhile to have it. That's something that is really a smart thing to have. It truly protects your family because no one knows you have a weapon. In a situation where you need to, God forbid, you can use your weapon and protect your family, and the bad guy won't know you have a weapon.
Right.
Carrying open carry, that's the first guy that bad guy's going to take out.
Right.
And then you put your family at risk, because if you go with your children and you open carry your family, they may end up getting.
Right.
There may be casualties as well, because the guy is going to go for you and whoever might buy you. So it's not a smart thing to do. You're bringing attention to yourself, and then people looking at you, scaring people. Other kids are going to be, is it smart? It's not smart. Yeah, it's legal. Yeah, it's legal. But it's not a wise thing to do.
I think it's more of a power exertion thing. It's like trying to show off that you have a gun.
Yeah, it could be. But it really is a foolish thing. This is not the Wild Wild West, so it's really kind of not a smart thing to do. Even a law enforcement officer who has his weapon out and his badge out, off duty, dude, you are working.
Right.
Because you're like, if you're wearing your uniform, so what's the purpose of being off? Put your whole uniform on then,
right,
and work for free,
right,
and work at all 24/7. that's not a smart thing to do. The off-duty and the reason to have concealed is for you to be relaxed. That you don't have to be duty. That you can make a judgment and say, hey, look, this is not worth me getting involved. This is not a life and death situation.
Right.
I can be a professional witness and be just as fine. I have my children with me. I'm gonna go risk my children and my wife on a situation that is not for that.
Right.
You know, so you got that when you're off duty, you can make those decisions and say, hey, look, I do need to risk because this is a life and death situation. I have
But
to
once
act.
you have that gun out exposed, you kind of become a
you
target.
you just blew your cover.
Right.
And the people next to you, you put them in danger. So it has no, it really, it doesn't fulfill its purpose.
Right. Well, Jairo, we're about out of time. I want to thank you again for being here with us today.
You're
like
welcome.
I said, today was different. I just wanted to address certain things.
Yes,
like I
brother.
said, and thank you so much. I want to thank again Sheriff Steve Prater for letting you come
Thank
on the
you,
show.
brother. Thank you,
and
brother.
everybody that's listening to us, please help us share and comment. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, brother.
Todos los jueves en punto de las 12. No te pierdas tu programa Charlando con la Ley. Un show con temas reales y con los puntos de vista del policía Jairo Rivera. Aprende a cómo protegerte y proteger a los tuyos aquí a través de 318 Latino.